Hello everyone, welcome back to another Weather Wednesday, where I get to use my favorite tool to talk about weather, science on a sphere. So let's take a look at what is happening around the world regarding weather. Today we're going to talk about Hurricane Ida, Tropical Storm Ida, Hurricane Ida, Tropical Storm Ida. So we're going to see what is currently going on with that hurricane. Also today, I'm going to be talking about just a quick update on the wildfires that have been happening on the west side of the United States, because we don't want to forget all those people that are struggling with being displaced because of wildfires and other weather news around the world. So let's start first with Hurricane Tropical Storm Ita right here. You can see that system right there as it hit the Yucatan. Then it came up here to South Florida and created a lot of flooding. Let's take a look at some pictures from Hurricane Ida. Over the last week or so, it has caused a lot of damage in Central America. The countries of Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guatemala have experienced a whole lot of rainfall from this hurricane. We're talking anywhere between 20 to 30 inches of rain coming from this storm system, which contributes to landslides. There's been a number of deaths, literally dozens of deaths in Central America because of landslides and flooding. And you can see over my shoulder here a lot of damage, a lot of devastation there. So if you have the opportunity to see what's going on in Central America and help out, I encourage you to do so as these people are struggling. Also, South Florida experienced anywhere between 6 and 12 inches of rain from Tropical Storm Ita at the time. And so they are still experiencing a bit of rain as we take a look at where Hurricane Ida is, or Tropical Storm Ida is now. So let's take a look at our current clouds here using Science on a Sphere. Fast forwarding to the most recent satellite image we have, you can see it right here. As I back it up, we can see that hurricane track coming from Central America, where it comes across Cuba. We don't want to forget Cuba. It dropped anywhere between 15 and 20 inches of rain in Cuba there. It came across Cuba, then it came up to South Florida, fell apart a little bit, but then since coming back over the Gulf of Mexico has reformed a little bit. Looks like it's done a little curlicue. And where is it headed? Well, scientists, or at least, the models are a little bit discombobulated. This is called the spaghetti model because this is looking at several different models, computer models, and then it puts them all together to try to see which, if there is a general path. And with this hurricane or tropical storm, it could go anywhere. There is not a whole lot of agreement going on. You can see that this is the current position of Tropical Storm Ida right here. Some models are predicting it to go up this way. Some are predicting it to possibly go this way or even this way. This is definitely a spaghetti system coming through. But if we take a look at our Science on a Sphere model, we can see, in backing it up to most recent, we can see that tropical storm right here. And what Science on a Sphere, this is the GFS model, what it is predicting is that it is going to go up possibly towards the panhandle of Florida. As it does so, it's not going to maintain its strength, but it is going to maintain its moisture content. It'll probably produce quite a bit of rain as it passes across northern Florida here and moves along. And we'll take a look at the rest of the weather in the United States here in a little bit. But I just wanted to show you what the GFS model, and what probably will happen is that it will lose its pressure, lose its wind power. However, it will maintain quite a bit of moisture in that storm system. So keep an eye on Tropical Storm Ida as it crosses there. Hurricane Eta, and now there is a tropical storm system called Iota. As you probably know, there have been so many named storms this year that we have run out of names and have been going into the Greek letters to categorize these storms. In fact, this current tropical storm, which does not look like it's going to impact any land areas, but Tropical Storm Iota is the 29th named storm for this hurricane season, which breaks the record of storms, hurricane named storms back in 2005. So we now currently have the most tropical storm and hurricanes ever here in the year 2020. So that is a dubious record that has been set this year, and it's probably not over. We'll probably have a couple more of named systems as we finish out the hurricane season here in November. Also want to mention, wanted to go back to wildfires. And just as I mentioned during my last episode, I wanted to give you guys an update on where the wildfires are. I took a look around at the wildfire maps, the most current maps, and it does look like, thankfully, just about all wildfires are almost 100% contained. What does that mean? Well, it means that it doesn't look like this right now. This is a picture from earlier this year. Now it looks more like this, where you can see a lot of just smoldering. Their firefighters actually looking underground to make sure that fires don't travel through the root systems of trees. They're looking for hot spots, trying to put those out, and basically making a corral around the current wildfire system. So most of those are out, or sorry, not out, but contained at least. And now it is smoldering throughout those large systems. So how much damage did those wildfires do this year? Well, this brings up the Jeopardy question that I posted on our Discovery Center Facebook page yesterday. This is in tribute to the passing of Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek had been a host for Jeopardy for over 36 years. I read somewhere that he did over 8,000 episodes. I can't even imagine doing 8,000 Weather Wednesdays. That is crazy. But he did that with some very professional and a very high quality job. And so the question was, or the topic was, natural disasters in 2020, and the answer is 8.6 million. So did you figure out what that was? The answer is, what is the number of acres that wildfires have burned in the United States this year? Again, another record this year. Wildfires have burned more acreage this year than any other wildfire season in history. That is 8.6 million acres that have been burned because of wildfires. To put that into context, if you take the state of Colorado or the state of Oregon, and you take 1/8 of that state, that is the amount of acreage that was burned this year. So here is just a general picture or image of Colorado. And if you take this entire area of Pikes Peak region, that is about 1/8 of Colorado. That's about the size of the wildfire. So if you take the entire Front Range of Colorado, that's how much wildfire area was burned. Or if you take the entire Willamette Valley in Oregon, or the entire Seattle area from Tacoma all the way north through Seattle, you could put all kinds of analogies on here. I was looking up Rhode Island. Rhode Island is almost 1 million acres. So take Rhode Island and multiply that times 9. 9 Rhode Islands, that's how much wildfire damage there has been this year. So a lot of devastation there, a lot of regrowth that needs to happen because of those wildfires. Thankfully, as we take a look at the weather it looks like the West Coast and the California area where those fires are still happening, but looks like the West Coast will be continuing to get some moisture. So as I'm looking at this here, let's take a look at a forecast for the United States and around the world. So right here, I'm noticing what I'm looking at is for here, central Colorado or central United States here. We see some dips. We're looking for ridges or troughs. And so we can just see that there is definitely several troughs coming through the Pacific Northwest. That high pressure system is off, well off the West Coast. I'll show that to you in another forecast model in a little bit. But you can see these systems coming through here and dropping down into the central part of the United States. So that is about November 18th, 19th, and 20th. We'll get a drop of cold air down through central part of the United States. That might lead to some snow east of Colorado. And definitely over the lakes, you can see a system over here coming through on the 17th and 18th, producing probably lake effect snow for the northeast part of the United States. And as I mentioned, the West Coast is going to stay cloudy and moist. So taking a look at one other forecast model, this is that wind or the jet stream model. Wind streamers is the name of it. And as I orient it so that we can identify the United States here, as I orient it, we're looking for troughs. That is a low pressure system. So this trough will continue to move through, bringing clouds. And then that high pressure system that I mentioned that was well off the West Coast is over here. So that will allow clouds to come into all the way south down in California. And that hopefully will bring some much needed moisture down in that area. That ridge will come back later in the week, 16th and 17th. That ridge will come back a little bit, which helps to steer those low pressure clouds over the central part of the United States and the Great Lakes. So what about the rest of the world? Well, as we take a look, let's just take one more look at our forecast model and just take a look at the rest of the world. Here is, let's stick with the northern hemisphere, which is experiencing its winter season. As we look at Europe here, we can see a ridge coming through on the 16th and 17th over central part of Europe. But the northern part of Europe is going to stay cloudy and windy as a couple of low pressure systems. And that's what you see here, these tightly packed lines here. As these low pressure systems come through, it's going to keep cloudy and windy over the north part of Europe. But central part around the Mediterranean, typically they have sunny skies, that typical Mediterranean weather that will continue. Looks like a little bit of a low pressure system dropping in on the 19th and 20th. And then continuing on through Asia here, this is the Himalayan mountains right here, and that's where you can see that ebb and flow. I once had a question about why do these lines seem to fluctuate? Why do those circles seem to grow and shrink? That is because of the day and night cycle. During the day, the sun heats up the earth, causes the warm air to rise, and that causes a low pressure behind it. And then as you get night, the cool air sinks, causing a little bit of a higher pressure in that area. So that fluctuation is the day-night cycle through there. As I've come back here, we can see that there is right now currently this tight circle area. That is a typhoon, not a super strong typhoon, but definitely a typhoon that's hitting the same area that this super typhoon Goni hit. So definitely keeping an eye on this because there's a lot of moisture wrapped up in these typhoons, and that will travel across the Philippines and head towards Vietnam. And I've mentioned Vietnam several times this last couple weeks. because of flooding that has happened because of typhoons hitting Vietnam. And that's going to continue with this storm system. After that, though, it looks like it's calming down. We don't see any development of typhoons in the western part of the Pacific Ocean. So hopefully that's the last of it for Southeast Asia there. So that's looking around the weather around the world. Southern Hemisphere is experiencing going into their summer. They're experiencing their spring going into their summer, and so you can expect warm temperatures there in the Southern Hemisphere with some cyclones. That is the term for hurricanes in the Indian Ocean. They don't get a whole lot of hurricane type weather in the Southern Hemisphere, but once in a while they do, and they'll experience that later in our winter months, which is later in their summer months. So typically, you get some sunny, warm weather over the southern part of the world here, the globe. So that's it for today. If you have a question for me regarding weather or regarding space, let us know. Contact us on our social media platforms. If you want to know the weather where you are, again, send us a comment, send us a question. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys for watching this week's Weather Wednesday. Stay tuned for next week where we take a look at more weather around the world and see what's going on. So until next time, thanks for watching.